Hey guys, it's Steven. Before the video gets underway, I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for killing it on the videos recently. I mean, I like to think that I'm doing a pretty good job here too, but you guys have been absolutely doing an amazing job with the likes and the views and the subscriptions. We're almost at 500, and let's just start the video before I start getting emotional here. Welcome to Downtown Sports. My name is Downtown Steven Brown, and in today's video, it's gonna be a big one. So in today's video, I wanted to go into more specifics and a little bit more details into a hot button topic that we've touched on a few times here on this channel. I've talked about how the Maple Leafs could add a defenseman to help them out next season, but let's get into who they can actually add next season. And of course, the subsequent moves that they would need to make those players fit under their cap. And in today's video, I'm going to be operating as if the cap were to stay flat for next season. Now, the first defenseman that I'm suggesting here is TJ Brodie. Now, TJ Brodie was almost the Toronto Maple Leaf last offseason, but Nazem Kadri nixed the deal that would have sent him to Calgary in exchange for TJ Brodie and another player. And instead, the Maple Leafs went out and got Tyson Barrie, and if you haven't watched my video analyzing that trade, I'll link it above the screen. And while I think that Tyson Barrie has been a good fill-in defenseman here in Toronto, I mean, what would the Maple Leafs have really done without him with all the injuries that they sustained earlier on in the season? He's not the type of defenseman that we need here. He's not the type of defenseman that we need to be playing with Morgan Rielly. And while TJ Brodie isn't a natural right shot defenseman, he does have experience playing on the right side, so he does fit this description that Bob McKenzie gave us from back in January. And taking a look at TJ Brodie's advanced metrics on the surface compared to other Maple Leafs defensemen, he's not too bad on either side of the puck in terms of his 5-on-5 play this season. And he is one of the 4 most used defensemen on the Calgary penalty kill, so he would come with that ability as well. And Evolving Wild on Twitter, or evolvinghockey.com, has him projected to be on a 3-year contract for just over $5 million a season, but also the possibility for a 5-year deal worth $5.6 million. And if we come over to capfriendly.com here, this is what the Maple Leafs would have to do to fit TJ Brodie in under their salary cap for that number. You're going to see the $800,000 at the top there. This is a 21-man roster, so only one player on the bench, which isn't the most realistic, but the Maple Leafs are going to have to stretch things out if they want to upgrade their defense next year, no doubt. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do their lineup on a nightly basis. In order to make this work, the Toronto Maple Leafs would have to trade both Andreas Johnsson and Alexander Kerfoot. And I've been on the train that the Maple Leafs should trade Travis Dermott as well, because I do believe Timothy Liljegren and Rasmus Sandin become a full-time fixture on their third pairing next season. But it never hurts to have that depth there, so keeping Travis Dermott around next season. By the way, Evolving Wild has him projected to sign a $1.8 million 2-year deal. Yeah, I'll keep Travis Dermott around for that much money, and it fits here. Now, if there's any complaint to be had about this team, it's that the forward depth in the bottom 6 isn't the absolute greatest, and I mean, it's a trade-off, right? But if closer to the trade deadline, if the Maple Leafs are really liking the progress that they see with Timothy Liljegren and they do decide that they need more forward depth, then we might see them trade Travis Dermott then. Or they might trade Timothy Liljegren. You don't know. And for those of you that don't believe that Joe Thornton would ever sign in Toronto and that he definitely wouldn't sign in Toronto for just $700K, I mean, this is an excerpt from Elliot Friedman's 31 Thoughts, an edition that he did a little while ago before the trade deadline, and number 5 makes it pretty clear there. Joe Thornton will make his salary fit. Now, you guys know how much I've been actively cheering for Nick Robertson to make the Leafs next season. I think I'm going to jump on the hype train with this next player here, and I'm going to keep penciling him in on the 4th line because I really liked his play this season when he was up with the Maple Leafs earlier in the season, and that's Adam Brooks. Trading Andreas Johnsson and Alexander Kerfoot will be a hard pill to swallow, but if you can add a player like this in there and make him work in the bottom 6, you're going to be getting a little bit of offense back. Now, the next guy that I'm going to talk about here is Dylan DeMelo. You've heard me mention him in a few videos now, but I think that he would really complement Morgan Rielly in the style that he plays. He's a right-handed shot defenseman, not exactly a small guy, and he's more defensive-minded. And Paul Maurice had that quote after the Winnipeg Jets traded for him at this year's trade deadline, saying that watch him play is like coach's porn. And if I had to make a comparison, I would almost say that he's a younger, better version of Ron Hainsey, and that's exactly what Morgan Rielly needs in a D partner, someone to just allow him to go out and do what he does best with the puck. And if we take a look at how he stacks up against other Maple Leafs defenders this season, just to kind of on the surface analytics here, he's just a decent little defenseman on both sides of the puck, and he does play on the penalty kill. And Evolving Wild has him projected to sign about a $3 million deal for 3 seasons. Which, if you're taking a look at the armchair GM now, it allows the Maple Leafs a little bit more room to breathe up front. As we can see, I got the cap space to within $28,000, but I had enough money to just throw a placeholder in there at the 3 center position and still be able to retain Joe Thornton there as a guy that you can mix into your lineup sparingly. And Travis Dermott is still there as well, which would allow the Maple Leafs to kind of test the waters with Timothy Liljegren, like I said. And if he really did impress them, it would allow the Maple Leafs to move Travis Dermott out, make Rasmus Sandin and Timothy Liljegren a full-time fixture on the 3rd pairing, and then they'd be able to go out there and get more offensive depth up front. But again, this would still involve them trading both Alexander Kerfoot and Andreas Johnsson. And really in trades for those players, you're just looking to dump the cap hit, right? If you could get back picks and prospects, you take a little bit less on the picks and the prospect side just to clear out the salary. And the last guy that I wanted to highlight here is Justin Braun. He's a little bit of a graybeard option at 33 years old, but he is a right-handed shooting defenseman, a little bit of a bigger guy, and he's having himself a decent year with Philly right now. And if we take a look at how his advanced metrics stack up against the other Maple Leafs defenders, just kind of on the surface, we're going to see that he's a decent little defensive defenseman. And what I really like about him is that he's also a decent penalty killer, and that's that column there. For what it's worth, the Maple Leafs penalty kill has been a problem this season, and if you could get a guy that would help improve the penalty kill, then yeah, I'm all for it. And if you're worried about how the Maple Leafs are going to eventually afford Morgan Rielly, well, Evolving Wild has him projected signing a 2-year deal worth about $2.9 million, and that's when Morgan Rielly's deal would expire, so it would allow them to not be tied up with other players and still have someone in the now. And this is probably the least sexy option for the Toronto Maple Leafs here. It's not the most flashy or anything like that. But in terms of UFA options, there's not a lot of guys out there that the Toronto Maple Leafs could afford that would really fit their situation. And I don't really feel comfortable giving up a guy like Timothy Liljegren, as we saw in the NHL 20 video that I did, what would it take to trade for Josh Manson. I'm not really comfortable giving up that player, and I don't really want to give up Travis Dermott either. And this allows us to keep both of them and also make a short-term improvement. We got to try to find some kind of balance between not exhausting all of our resources up front and not spreading our depth out too thin while still upgrading the defense. So while it's not the flashy trade that everyone might want to see, I think that this would make a difference, and it allows the Maple Leafs to go into next season and still make upgrades to their team, because they would still have guys like Travis Dermott, they would still have guys like Timothy Liljegren, and then they would have the assets that they would get in a haul for Andreas Johnsson and Alexander Kerfoot. So make sure to leave me a like on this video if you did like it, and subscribe for more, because more is always on the way. And guys, I was already on the Nick Robertson hype train here, but now I'm on the Adam Brooks hype train, and hopefully you could join me on that as well.